Murweni, and welcome to it right here on Cape Town TV. You are watching Conversations with Africa Unite, the show from Africa to Africans. Remember, I'm your host, Lelethu, and you'll be seeing more of me in the coming weeks because every single week we will be right here discussing all the complex issues regarding migration, from the xenophobic attacks to even the simplest migration terminologies. And today in studio, I am joined by Mr. Manix Kanyimbu. He is a master's candidate at the University of the Western Cape, and he specializes in migration at the Department of Sociology at the University of the Western Cape. And today he's helping us unpack some of the roles of the South African government in making sure that the rights of migrants are protected while they live in South Africa. Now, please do not forget to join in on the conversation on our social media pages and let us know what you think. On Instagram, we are official_Africa Unite. On Facebook, we are Africa Unite. And on Twitter, we are Africa_Unite_ZA. Manix, welcome to the show and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Lelethu. Thank you for having me on your show, and I greet all the viewers out there.
Okay, great. Mr. Manix, please tell us your story. Tell us, where exactly are you from? I know you're from the DRC. Where exactly are you from in the DRC? What led you to come into South Africa?
Thank you, Lelethu, for this question, which remind me of a lot of things. Yes, I'm from Congo, from the Katanga province, exactly from Lubumbashi. Me being in South Africa is a long story, which started with the war, meaning that I was not directly affected by the war, but I was indirectly affected.
Okay, okay.
By then, I want to say the war started in the east part of the country, coming down and affecting the northeast part, which is above us.
Okay.
So we are right at the bottom,
All right.
in Lubumbashi. When that war started, it had to change the national fabric. My own experience is I was graduated in 2001.
Okay.
I got my BA in International Relations from the University of Lubumbashi. You know, when you finish your studies, you are so excited to be now thrown on the market of employment.
Yeah.
That was the big expectation from me. But nothing happened. After 2 years, I was trying there and there, up until I got in touch with a friend who came already in South Africa.
Okay.
So he told me, look, you are wasting your time there. Try to shift and come onto this side and try your luck. So from that conversation with the friend, it created in me a sort of aspiration of life. I was like, no, staying here, I'll be blocked. I don't know up until when. Let me try to shift and go somewhere else. So me being in South Africa is a matter of trying to better my life.
So it's both the war as well as trying to find greener pastures.
The war which did not affect me directly, but
perfect.
indirectly.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, because in Lubumbashi there was no war. But in the other part of the province, people were affected directly by the war, and we had to suffer the consequences.
So one of those consequences was then poverty and unemployment in your region.
Everything.
Okay. So now let's move to the part where you finally moved to South Africa.
Okay, when I moved to South Africa, I was a victim of corruption in the Home Affairs. I will tell you. I get here. That was in Johannesburg.
Okay.
And remember, the police was very severe. When they catch you without a paper, you are undocumented. They don't deport you straight. They first send you to Lindela, where you will wait in order for the government to put all the paperwork together and then deport you.
Okay.
So by the time I got in South Africa, I spent 21 days indoors.
In Lindela?
No. At home from the friend who received me here.
Okay.
I spent 21 days indoors because I was afraid to go out.
I can imagine.
After that, I arranged some money from home. They sent me money. My friend told me to give him 2 ID photos. He said, give me the 2 ID photos. I will go to the Home Affairs. I will arrange a paper for you. Afterward, he came with a paper with my photo on. So I could, from that paper, I could move. It was an appointment document that the Home Affairs was issuing. They couldn't give you the proper paper at once. They started by giving an appointment. Though it's an appointment, but we could use it on the road. If the police arrest you, you show them, and then you are free.
So you had left your family behind and you came all alone here?
All alone to join my friend.
So you get this paper, so that's sort of your temporary, you know,
it was just an appointment. It's like now if you apply for a visa from the VFS, they will give you a receipt.
Okay.
You can use that receipt to be free. You are allowed for meanwhile to be on the country until you get your proper document.
So you got that appointment. So
I
now
got the
you were
appointment
finally
for
able.
1 month, and then I was free.
Okay.
After the 1 month, I went now back to the Home Affairs. The friend just explained to me, we were staying in Hillbrow. He said, okay, from Hillbrow you catch a taxi down to town. He gave me direction up to the Home Affairs. When I got there that way, I discovered that I was victim of corruption within the Home Affairs.
Oh.
The paper I was using was not genuine, without me knowing that. Only when I came across with the official to give him the appointment paper so that he could now take me through the interview and issue a proper document. When I gave the paper, the guy was like looking at it. Then he said to me, this paper is not from here. I was like, what do you mean? He said, you know what? I am the one who issued these papers to people. From this signature, I can tell you this is not mine. So I was confused.
I can imagine. So before you delve into your next thought, we're just going to take a short break and we will come back.
Thank you.
Manix is still here with us in studio and he will be sharing more of his story. Please do not go away. Do not forget to join in on the social media conversations. As I've said before, on Instagram, we are official_Africa Unite. On Twitter, we are Africa_Unite_ZA. And on Facebook, we are Africa Unite. Don't go away. We still have Manix in studio. And welcome back to it. We are still talking to Mr. Manix Kanyimbu, a master's candidate in sociology at the University of the Western Cape. And he was sharing his story with us about how he came from the DRC and how he landed up in South Africa and the challenges that he has faced in South Africa and while living in South Africa. Please do not forget to join in on the conversations on our social media pages. On Instagram, we are official_Africa Unite. On Twitter, we are Africa_Unite_ZA. And on Facebook, we are Africa Unite. Now, we still have Mr. Manix here. Mr. Manix, you were still sharing with us now, you were at Home Affairs and you had found out that the document was fraudulent, that had been given to you by, some of one of your friends. So were you aware that the document was fraudulent when it was given to you? And do you think that your friend was aware of that?
Okay, on my side, not at all. I was not aware that the document was fraudulent.
Yeah.
But there was something that I could remember. My friend was talking to someone, and the name is a Congolese name that I can't tell here. And most of the time, if I ask him, when am I going to get my paper? Okay, let me call X. He would call X in my presence, and X will explain, no, wait, I'm still arranging. Wait, I'm still arranging. I was so lucky that on the day that the official told me that this paper was fraudulent, I heard someone call, the same person called all his colleagues to show them the paper, and by lucky, he mentioned the name of X and asked X, can you tell me, is this my signature? X said, no, this is not your signature. This is someone who forged your signature. Immediately, I asked to that person in French, are you from Congo? He affirmed. He said, yes, I am from Congo. I asked him, do you know why? Who's my friend? He said, yes, I know him.
So even the money that they had asked you to organize from back home was going to be given to him?
That's what my friend told me. He said, give money and the two ID photos. I'll go and arrange a paper for you. Me, I was a newcomer. I did not understand how the system works. Then I gave the money and the two ID photos. After I've asked the question to this Congolese guy, he affirmed that he knew my friend and he was Mixer X. I told him straight, be honest with your boss. Tell your boss that you are the one who did this. If you don't say this, I will say it in my broken English by that time.
Yeah.
The guy was scared.
Just besides, sorry to cut you off there. So just besides then the corruption that you sort of encountered, before that, were there any other things you feel like the government should have protected you from? And I'm saying this because the corruption as well is something that you should have been protected from.
Yes.
So is there other things that you encountered, or even maybe after the encounter with the fraudulent documents?
Okay, after that, there is something that the government need to do, and the government is to do more. You know, when you open the borders and say people can come in, meaning that you are ready. If you organize a party here and invite people out there, you know that, okay, these people will come, they will eat, they will drink. The party will be the party, as it must be. So if the South African government till now is accepting people from outside, that means that the government is ready to manage these people. But in the management of outsiders, there is a problem. It's a problem of time. It's a problem of changing the law every time. When we got in South Africa in 2003, the law said, once you are in the land, you must introduce yourself and give your side of story to the Home Affairs. From there, they will give you what is called Section 22, or an asylum seeker permit. Okay, which must run for 18 months. After the 18 months, the government must decide either to recognize you as a refugee or to reject your application and let you go.
Do you think then people have enough knowledge about that, especially, you know, when you come from other countries? Because I can imagine in your case, when you came in, you probably had no idea that you should go to Home Affairs and get the Section 22 document and all that. So do you think there's enough knowledge, and what do you think the government can do better then in that regard? Is it even a government's role or duty or obligation to make sure that people coming in from other countries, you know, should be aware of all of this?
Yes. On the first section of your question, people out there are not aware of these things. I'm lucky, I'm among those who could read, encounter people who know about this, and discuss with them, exchange with them, and get some knowledge. Out there, people are blank. So what the government should do, and it's not only the government, even the civil societies, organizations, they must organize campaigns, you know, to go out there and explain to people how the system is, how it works. Otherwise, maybe by ignorance, we are blaming the government. Whereas if we could be informed of the things, how they work, we could be aware of some of the things. In the case I was explaining, the law says after 18 months, the government must determine your status. Either they take you as a refugee and they change your paper from the one of 6 months every time to the one of 4 years. In December, I'll be 20 years in South Africa. I will surprise you to say every 6 months, that was before Corona, before the
before
lockdown.
2020, COVID-19.
Yes, I was renewing my paper every 6 months.
Wow.
And I was working in a company where every 6 months I was running the risk of being kicked out.
Because of the papers.
Yes.
So you are still struggling with, you know, sort of the challenges, especially when it comes to, you know, government having to protect your rights in that sense. You're still, you know, feeling the effects of that.
Really, recently I had a problem with my bank. My account was frozen. On my paper, it's mentioned somewhere to be booked for appeal. Meaning that all the interviews that I underwent with the Home Affairs are not yet considered. So I was booked to appeal. I've sent a letter to say, look, the story I gave you is genuine. Please consider my application. Till now, that mention alone, it's blocking me in all the things I can do. If I decide today to go to maybe African Bank and say, I want to open an account here, once they read that mention, they will say to me, no, we can't open for you unless they remove this mention.
Wow.
Every 6 months, I'm reporting to the Home Affairs. Down the line, it's almost 20 years that I'm still having that mention on my paper, which blocks me
from doing everything.
So somewhere, somehow, you will ask yourself, what is the Department of Home Affairs doing? Why should I remain with this mention all my life in South Africa? It's a sort of blockage.
I can imagine.
You see?
Wow. And Manix is not going anywhere. He will be joining us after the break. Please do not forget to join in on the conversation. Today we are discussing some of the roles and the obligations of the South African government in making sure that the rights of migrants are protected. Join us on Instagram. We are official_Africa Unite. On Facebook, we are Africa Unite. And on Twitter, we are Africa_Unite_ZA. See you after the break. And welcome back to the show. You are still watching Conversations with Africa Unite, the show from Africa to Africans. Now, today we are still discussing some of the roles that government has to play in making sure that the rights of migrants are protected while they stay in South Africa. And we are joined in studio by Mr. Manix, a master's candidate at the University of the Western Cape who specializes in migration in the Department of Sociology. Now, we are discussing his story. He was sharing his story just before the ad break, and he was sharing how, the South African government hasn't played his role or still has to play its role in protecting his rights. Please do remember, before we delve into the conversation again, join in on our social media conversations as well. On Instagram, we are official_Africa Unite. On Twitter, we are Africa_Unite_ZA. And on Facebook, we are Africa Unite. Now, Manix, we were talking about how, you still feel like government still needs to play a bigger role in making sure that the rights of migrants are protected. But you touched on something very important before we went to ad break. You spoke of the raising of awareness and how it's not just the role of government, but also that of civil society. Right. But please tell me now, how do you think practically both not just government, but also civil society can actually make sure that we raise awareness around migration, especially for new migrants in South Africa? I mean, you've shared your story. You've told us that, you came in, you couldn't speak English. You weren't aware of a lot of the things, that happen in the country. So how do you think then practically awareness can be raised?
Thank you, Lelethu, for the question. I think we've got events, right? Like in June, we have the refugee, it's a refugee month. There is a specific date dedicated to refugees in the world globally. So this is an occasion that the government can grab. This is an occasion that everyone can grab, to sort of approaching the migration groups to speak to them about, issues.
Yeah, so basically taking advantage of all the special days, specifically those that are meant, for celebrating diversity.
Correct. Like now, it's we are running the month of heritage. This is another occasion when people come together, take that opportunity, try to unpack on things that are not understood in the society, especially with migrants. Like me, when I came, I couldn't speak English, but I learned on a soil where everything is in English.
Yeah.
You go to the Home Affairs, they will give you a form in English. So if in these occasions, we take time to explain even to newcomers that in this country, when you come, the first thing to do is to go and report to the Home Affairs, give your side of story. From that, they will give you this paper. This paper will run for this period of time. When you raise that awareness, people will know what is upfront. And people will stop complaining because they understand how the system works. But if no one is informed, we don't blame the government. The government or the state is sovereign. The state can take any decision anytime.
So basically then raising awareness through those special days and making sure that, there's visibility and we make sure that we bring all these people together into one room and we discuss such issues, but also we educate each other.
Yes. You'll go to the Home Affairs and you'll be amazed that an official can tell you that you can read in an article about something like, okay, now they've changed maybe the period of the Section 22. But you can be amazed to hear from an official telling you that I don't know about it. How does that work? When they take decisions.
So not just creating then awareness to to the migrants, but also to the officials.
Yes.
Okay.
Because some of them, you will be surprised, but he's working for the Home Affairs, but he does not know how that is possible.
Thank you so much for raising that, and thank you so much for sharing your story. I wish we had more time to discuss
problem,
all of
I
this.
think we'll share more.
Yes, definitely.
And we have people who have got fascinating stories, more than mine.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And we'll probably have you back on the show maybe another time. Thank you so much for joining in once again. Remember to please join in on the social media conversations on Instagram, on Facebook, as well as on Twitter. You are still watching Conversations with Africa Unite, and today we have been discussing some of the roles of the South African government in making sure that the rights of migrants are protected while they live in South Africa. Now, please do not forget that every single week we will be going inside and actually looking into some of the amazing work that migrants are doing out there and the projects that they are working on and trying to contribute in the society of South Africa. Now, please don't forget to catch us each and every single week as we go into this journey. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next week.